Three, two, one, ready for liftoff. Good evening, one and all. Good day, Bore Dar, everybody. My name is Donato. Welcome to today's show where I have an interview with none other than an ultra runner, sub-3 marathon man, and serving army soldier. As you may have guessed from behind him, welcome to the show, Lee Davies.
Bore Dar, everyone. My name is Lee Davies, and I'm currently serving with the Royal Welsh.
The Royal. It went a bit now and again. Obviously, apologies everybody, because this is the internet and we're in different parts of the world. Do you want to repeat that again, Lee? What you said? You're serving currently with the Royal.
Yeah, so I'm serving with the Royal Welsh.
The Royal Welsh. That was it. It just went a little bit blank, but we'll see how this goes along. But it's going to be good fun. So yeah, Royal Welsh, and very fitting that this week. Obviously, it was Remembrance Sunday yesterday. We're recording this on the Monday, and hopefully we'll publish this for Remembrance Day as a special honour to the soldiers present and past of what's going on. But we're here to talk about running and what you do, Lee, and all that type of stuff. We were chatting earlier that you're from Maesteg in South Wales, and it brought happy memories to me, because obviously the show's about you, Lee, so I won't bore people about my time in Wales, but Maesteg, it's famous for its rugby and its history there. Tell us about yourself, how you got into running, your sporting background, because you were a PT in the army. So were you the kind of guy who'd be shouting, "Come on, get those up, those up, up, yeah," and everyone would be going, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." Was it like that, or was it a bit different?
Yeah, well, it was pretty much exactly that, but the thing that got me into running, Donato, was actually a cool story. Is my granddad is a world champion sprinter. So at the age of 71, he won the world championships and masters in Austria in 2006.
Wow, that is quite incredible. So see, you said that was your granddad, yeah?
Yeah, so yeah, he used to
71. Wow, that is totally brilliant. Obviously, me being a Masters, I'm not quite 71 just yet, but something to aspire. That must be brilliant. So you have it in the genes then. World Championship, here we come, Lee.
Some would say, yeah, but yeah, I've got a lot to live up to, Donato, a lot to live up to.
So was it when you saw your granddad become world champion, is that what kick-started you into running?
No, so he's always been, so he got me into running when I was a youngster, and actually got me into cross country. So in school, I was type 2, and I used to do cross country for Progent, and my granddad at the time then was still competing, and it wasn't until I was probably in my 20s when my granddad won the Masters in the 800 meters with a time of 2:40.
What was the time he got it in?
2 minutes 40.
2 minutes 40. Oh my sweet heavens above. 2 minutes 40. Now, those who are watching 800 meters, whatever your age is, that is, yeah, that is super fast. Super fast. But obviously, the types of running that you do is, you say cross country. I mean, I remember I used to have nightmares when I was a child at school, because once a year we will pedal out to do the cross country run, and that's why I never really enjoyed running, never really got into running till my mid-50s. But you obviously enjoyed it, you thrived in this, you were clearly a physical guy. How did that all progress then?
Yeah, so I think always been into fitness because my granddad when I was younger. I always wanted to join the army because I wanted to push myself physically. Yeah. So when I joined, it was pretty much a natural step for me to become a physical training instructor. Mm-hmm. And as for the running and the ultras, I jumped headfirst in the ultras with no clue, like most people, I suppose.
Yeah. What kind of ultras have you done, Lee? Come on.
So my first ultra, Donato, was the Comrades Marathon in 2009.
Oh wow, that's South Africa, isn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing, the trip. We combined it with going to see Rorke's Drift, because obviously Rorke's Drift was my regiment. We went out and done a Rorke's Drift, but we had to do a marathon to qualify. I didn't have a clue about training or marathon training or anything, and I went and done Rotterdam Marathon.
Right. Okay.
And you had to do a time of 4 hours to qualify. And if I remember rightly, I'd done the first 21 miles in probably 2 hours 20 something, with an average pace of like 6:30, and then I walked the last 5 miles because I was in so much pain, and I just scraped in the qualifying time.
Wow, wow. So lots of lessons learned. What did you learn from that first marathon then?
Actually do some training.
Yes, we hadn't prepped this at all, Lee. For those who are watching, these questions, these are all new to me, so I'm learning all this, and I knew what the answer would be, Lee. I just wanted you to say it.
Yeah.
And for those watching, is yes, if you're coming to do a marathon, do some training. But you're from a physical background. It just goes to show that whilst people may be physically fit and they look fit or whatever, if you don't do specific marathon training, running a marathon is as I've often said, it's 20 miles of hope, 6 miles of truth. And you obviously found out the 6 miles of truth, didn't you?
Oh, it was a long 6 mile walk, Donato, I'll tell you that.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but yeah, so you learned, and so that qualified you for Comrades, because you can't just rock up and run Comrades. Tell everybody the Comrades, what the distance is and how it works. I mean, I'm familiar, but you tell the audience.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the Comrades Marathon is run in South Africa, and it's run every year. Now, consecutively, they do it either an up or a down. What that means is it either starts in St. Pietersburg or Durban. I chose, or we actually fell on the year that we would do down. It's 56 miles over the Drakensberg Mountains, so that's 89 kilometers, and you've got a cut-off of 12 hours. If you don't make 12 hours, they send the trucks out and you don't get a medal. Although you would think down would be the easy option. No.
So when you say up and down, just to clarify, everyone, it's a net uphill and a net downhill each way. It doesn't mean that it's down all the way, because it's up and down. Whichever way you go, it's up and down.
Yeah.
A bit like Boston Marathon, it may be a net downhill course, but if I say to people Newton Hills, they'll all go. But yeah, so Comrades, those distances, it's a double marathon distance, is that right?
Yeah, plus more, 56 miles it was, yeah.
56 miles, so a double marathon is 50, so it's more than a double marathon. Yeah. And as you say, they're quite strict on the cut-offs. If you don't finish in that time, there's no medal, the end, and it doesn't matter where you are on the course. I mean, I have seen people where they get to the finish line and they're about 100 yards short and the clock stops, that's it.
Yeah. Seeing myself is so disappointing. Like,
how did you do yourself, Lee? How did you do?
I managed it in 10:21, Donato.
10:21. So there's different medals for different times. What medal did you get for that?
I had a bronze.
Bronze medal. Brilliant, brilliant. So you've obviously got the bug for ultras. Are you super good at ultras now?
So I like to think I am, but I like to mix it up. So I'll switch back to marathon, then I'll go to an ultra, then I'll go to a marathon. Yeah. I've never really stayed consistent, but I'm actually training at the moment for the World's Toughest Mountain Race, which is the Dragon's Back Race 2021.
Dragon's Back Race. I've heard of this one. Come on, tell us about that one. Obviously, you've got a dragon behind you, a Welsh dragon. Yes. I can see. So, is the Dragon's Back? Is this a Welsh race? Is it?
Yeah. So it was run by Burghouse, and it's from North Wales, Conwy Castle to Cardiff Castle over 6 days. 380 kilometers with 17,000 meters of elevation. Wow.
What date is this? Because I've been to Conwy Castle and I've been to Cardiff Castle, but by car. And it's a long way. And it took me nearly a whole day when I used to visit some friends up in the North Coast from Cardiff when I lived there. It would take us nearly all day to drive there. So you've got... did you say 6 days to run it?
Yes. So last year it was 5 days, but this year they're sticking another day on, because it used to end up in a little field in Llandilo, but now they're ending it in Cardiff Castle. So yes, 6 days, 380 kilometers, and it starts on the 6th of September.
6th of September next year.
Yeah, 2021.
Ah, phew! Thank God for that. Right, I'm out of that one.
Yeah,
it clashes with another event.
Yeah.
So you've started training, because that is such an epic one. I don't know whether you saw, and I'll introduce you to Carla Molinaro. who was the world record holder for Land's End to John O'Groats.
Yeah.
He was a guest on here last week, or was it a couple of weeks ago? Now, obviously, you're not running that distance, but she, like similar to yourself, she's got a physical training background from elite level. But it sounds like you're building up to these kind of endurance sessions. Do you want to talk us through what a typical training week might be for an ultra running type person? And then once we've covered that, how you go into your mind, because a lot of it is mindset when you're doing these distances. Isn't that right, Lee? Rather than physical?
Yeah, do you know what? And a lot of people will probably relate to this, Nato, is that it's probably 60 to 70% mindset, because it's so easy just to bin a run. Especially if you haven't got a training plan. So if there's people out there and they're running and they're trying to get fit and they haven't got a plan or they haven't got any specific goals, then it's so easy just to stay in bed or just put off a run. So I think having a plan is key there, and having a goal to work towards. But a typical week for me, so sometimes I'll have a long run on a Wednesday. The reason being, in the military, we have sports afternoon on Wednesday, which means that's perfect. And I don't have to eat into my Sundays because I only spend the weekend with my wife and my daughter. So that doesn't affect then my time with them. So yeah, sometimes it'll be a Wednesday, sometimes it'll be a Sunday. So generally, Monday is between 8 and 15k easy. When I say easy, everybody's pace is going to be different as easy. But for me, Donato, that's usually around 8 minutes per mile. Tuesday then, we step it up a bit and we go about 20k. Minimum is probably 14. Then Wednesday's the long run. Now I don't go anything over 15, 16 miles unless I'm targeting a marathon or something specific. I find 16 miles a sweet spot for me. Within that long run, I'll as Forest Dean runner does, I like to incorporate marathon paced, or what my marathon paced efforts or blocks would be. So usually my long run is a session. Thursday's easy, nice 10k. Friday's usually lactic threshold. Usually, so this Friday's, for instance, was 10k at around 175 heartbeat, which is nice and decent. Nice, I felt strong. And then it's a mix. It's either Saturday off or Sunday off, and then whatever's not, it'll usually be like 15k hilly.
Okay. That's interesting. So you have your long run on a Wednesday. A lot of people tend to throw it on a Saturday or Sunday, but again, you're moving it to fit in with your schedule. So it's never hard and fast. But that sounds quite an intense week there, and that would be your typical weekly, yeah?
Yeah. So that's a solid base week. If I was gonna say how do you train me, that's exactly how I train. And it's usually between 80 and 100 kilometers before I start building up any mileage, right. Training.
And how does it change? Obviously, when you're coming up to this great dragon, I nearly called it a dragon boat race type thing. So sorry, from my dragon boat racing days. Yes.
That involves drinks.
yeah. I always used to get dragged into in the offices that we worked in. There'd be these interdepartmental things, and whenever they were short of someone, they'd throw me in. I'd never been in a dragon boat in my life, so you paddle away. But anyway, not dragon boat racing, but with your dragon. From Conway to Cardiff, how would you prep with the weeks coming up to the actual event itself? Because that week's quite an intense week. Do you adapt it, and do you prep? Do you sort of is there tapering in ultras? Apologies for teaching people how to suck eggs, but
so you know yourself that, or when you set out to do a race or you book a race, you work backwards and you hope to dear God that you get there uninjured. It's just a case of I know now I'm 10 or 11 months out. With this particular race, the first 3 days are really, really technical. So you can't really train for technical races unless you go out and hill days walking. So even like a day walking in the hills in Brecon is going to be classed as training because it's time on feet.
Yes, yeah.
Especially in this situation. But then if I can maintain a consistent mileage base of around 70 mile a week, and I do like to drop off and pick back up just to give my body a bit of a recovery. But yeah, get into the start line uninjured, holding and consistency is key for me. If I can stay consistent, then I'll know I'll have a good race and I'll have a good chance of competing rather than completing.
Yeah, yeah. So is it scheduled that you have to reach certain points at the end of each day, or can you just keep running and then you camp out in the wilds of wonderful Wales at a certain time, or you have to stop at checkpoints?
You're spot on there. So there's cut-offs. You get a drop bag where you're put into, it's probably midway through the day. So first day is 52 kilometers. It's probably split 26. You get your drop bag, and there's certain cut-offs you have to make. So self-navigated, for those of you who don't know what that means, it's you're given a map and compass and you have to reach cut-off times. If you don't reach cut-off times, then your race is over. The good thing about it, Donato, is if you don't make a cut-off, I say good, it's not good really. If you don't make a cut-off, you can continue with the race, you just don't get the finishers dragon at the end, which I'm not even thinking about, it's not crossing my mind.
So, and these places where the cutoff, where you finish, is it like a campsite and everybody's together and you can all
no electric. People have been known to jump in the river to have a bath and cool their muscles off.
It sounds like heaven. So it's proper Wim Hof method. Yeah, freeze your knackers off in the wonderful free flowing rivers in Wales. But yes, it sounds like bliss. Now, obviously, we joke about the cold, whatever, but it can get really hot, especially in September. And when you're out on those hills, I presume, because it sounds like the school days, they give you a compass and map and say, off you go.
Yeah.
But you're going to have, I'm guessing you need a bag, backpack, everything like that. Do you have to have a certain amount of things with you, or can you literally just go off in what we used to call our Queen Street shoes, the Queen Street being the shopping centre in Cardiff, Queen Street shoes, and off you go? Do they check your gear?
It's quite stringent, and really stringent, in fact, and rightly so, because it's branded as the world's toughest mountain race. They have to be very stringent with what they do and what they check. So the kit you have to carry has to be suffice for you to last, like you said, hot weather, blizzards. If somebody else is in danger, then you've got sufficient kit to care for them. Filtration systems for water, so you can't be expected to carry all that water. You can have a filtration system that you can just use from the pond or the streams. If they check you at any point and you haven't got any of the kit, then you immediately DQ'd.
Disqualified. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I can guess it's a challenge and a half. I mean, I've heard of the Man v Horse, which is in Wales as well. Have you done that one?
No, I've not done that. I've had a few friends that do it, and
I don't fancy being chased by horses, because I think the horses have got a much better chance getting up the mountains than me. But anyway, that's another thing. That's something absolutely great for you, looking forward to. But right now, if we want to touch on, and we'll come on to more about the other running, but in terms of a lot of what you do now, and for those who are watching, this is where we get into sort of maybe the serious bit. We'll talk about when you're doing ultras, it's more mental. Some of the things that you do is you do have a Facebook group and a community group where you help people, and it did really touch, because of what's going on now with COVID and all that kind of stuff. I think the mental health awareness is getting more higher and higher, because people being locked in their homes, not being able to socialize. We all have a human factor. We like to interact with people. Doing this digitally helps in some way, but doesn't replace for that type of stuff. And some of the statistics you were telling me, Lee, was pretty frightening. And but if you want to tell us a bit, firstly, with your ultra, you're going to be filming it for your YouTube. You do have a YouTube channel, and I'll leave in the comments below a link to Lee's I Vet Run. It's called, is it, for YouTube? Vet I Run. And I'll get my words the right way around. But if you want to tell people about what you do and the supportive community that you have on Facebook and how they can find you on various social medias, and also yourself, if you want to tell us a bit about that, Lee.
Yeah, so for those of you that haven't clicked on, I'm a serving soldier. I've been serving now for 16 years, and with those 16 years have come many operational tours. Since we've come back from the operational tours, it's I don't want to keep it too somber, but it's been a sad fact that we've lost more to suicide than Iraq and Afghanistan combined. So I wanted to try and reach out and help people in the way. So I suppose this is me coming out per se online. I suffered with a bout of depression, and from the outside looking in, everything's fine. I've got a good job, well paid, my family, my house, but I just felt lost, and I just had no sense of direction. So it was a very tough and challenging time for me. And the way I got through it was through fitness and through running. So I then thought, if fitness and running has helped me that much, then there's got to be other veterans, serving soldiers, generally people who suffer with depression, stress, that need help and probably or may not know about this. So what I done tonight was I set up a group called Vet I Run, which is a play on words for veteran, specifically designed to help veterans who struggle with mental health through fitness, through running, through interacting. And social media, I know people chuck social media out there as being a bad or horrible place to be, but used correctly, it can be a really amazing tool. And we've got now nearly 3,000 members on Vet I Run that seek inspiration, provide motivation. The camaraderie is just second to none, and it really, I'm really in awe of the group, and I've had hundreds of messages direct from people from the group that have just thanked me on how much the group has helped them through a tough time or made them lace up their trainers when they weren't going to. So just for me, that is what it's all about, is helping. If I can help somebody else battle a terrible day or a bad feeling, then I'm winning.
Yeah. I've got to say, Lee, that is absolutely brilliant. And having worked for the NHS myself in the mental health sector, I'm fully aware of, how critical. Often it's the simplest of little things that can help people. And obviously the group that you have sounds like a tremendous help. We'll leave a link. You can email me the link, or we'll leave a link in the description below where you can find Lee's group for the Vet I Run. But it's not just for it's helping there for veterans and those who are struggling with it in terms of mental health. But I guess anyone can join. They don't have to be ex-military, do they?
So I set it up as Vet I Run just as a play on words for veteran, because obviously I'm a vet. Well, I'm serving soldier, but I got mates of veterans. But essentially, it's for anybody that struggles with general health and well-being and is looking to get into fitness. There's plenty of people on there that have had an injury that you maybe got, or going through the same issue that you maybe are, that can offer their advice, which is it's invaluable.
Absolutely brilliant. And I totally agree with you, Lee. I've seen both sides of social media. I've been on social media longer than I care to mention, and I've experienced both sides firsthand, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the positives far outweigh the negatives every time. So people can call me whatever, but the thing to remember also, if there's people out there watching this, whether in the UK, US, Australia, whatever, there are groups out there, and we do implore people, if there's anything that if you're lost and wondering to turn to, and sometimes going onto social media can be a bit daunting. In the UK here, we have the Samaritans. Phone them. I've worked with them on various projects. Just pick up the phone and phone these people in. It's all anonymous, all there to help. But you wouldn't believe, and I'm sure you'd say as well, Lee, just one quick call to someone, and that can be the difference. That can make the difference between obviously being a statistic and still being here. But we all have a lot to live and a lot to enjoy. And obviously you're a great inspiration, Lee, and the group's growing. A credit to you, because without getting too philosophical or I'm trying to think of various words, all highfalutin words or whatever it is, you will attract people who are of the same ilk and thoughts as yourself, Lee. So if you've been through it and you've helped people, then people will come to you and keep a bit in the same way as we're talking here, having a bit of a banter and as we talk. But it's quite a serious point on there. And when you told me about that statistic, it is very somber, but it's a statement of fact. We're not here to dwell on that, but we're here to and you, Lee, are there to help people to overcome this. And fitness, it's almost a week today when I started my brand Grounded Republic. It's all about physical well-being. It's active lifestyle, all sports. We know we get the natural endorphins, don't we?
Yeah.
Activities. So it's better. It's been proven to be better than any form of drug. As much as I might like me beer and whatever and all that rock and roll, there's nothing quite like a runner's high, or after I finish a spin class for about an hour and I'm just dripping and there's like 2 pints of liquid on the floor. It's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. So I knew I should have switched off my phone. It keeps bleeping at me, but anyway. But yeah, all physical activity is great and it does help. But speak to people, whether it's Skype or phone.
Just reach out. Yeah.
Reach out, because life is worth living, and I've seen too many people where they were going onto the dark side and they've managed to reach out and they've blossomed and they're brilliant people. So clearly a great inspiration. But I've got to come back to Lee, and as I said, for those who want the links to Lee's Facebook group and other social medias, what is your name on the social medias, by the way? I'm guessing it's around ultra stuff. I've seen Lee Ultra Runs, or was that the one?
Yeah, that's it. So it's Lee Runs Ultras.
Lee Runs Ultras. That's on Instagram?
Yeah, that's Instagram.
Twitter?
Twitter is Vet I Run.
Vet I Run. Okay. Well, I'll leave all the links in the description there, and you can find Lee on there. But the race that you mentioned, I'm tempted, because I love Conway Castle, and you mentioned Llandilo, the Black Mountains.
Yeah.
I remember cycling to Bethlehem, which is right by Llandilo. So I remember when I lived in Llanelli, my landlady said, "Oh, you got to go to Bethlehem." I says, "Well, what do you mean, Bethlehem?" I said, "I'm in South Wales right now. Do I need to get on a plane?" She says, "No, Bethlehem, near Llandilo." And so I went there. Apparently, a lot of people take their post, don't they, for Christmas? We're coming up to Christmas to get the post on, and it says Bethlehem, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. So it's great to finish in the Black Mountain, but Cardiff, I'm tempted to maybe have a go at this. Maybe I'll get my mountain bike out or something and cycle along with you. But in terms of your running, what are your plans going forward for your running? So you're going to be doing this training.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to try and pin something on next year.
That's why I was asking Lee. I'm doing the like a press person, but asking the awkward question. We have currently in England, and I think in Wales as well. Are you still in national lockdown?
So I'm in England at the moment. Okay. I'm in camp. I travel back home on the weekends, but Wales is out of lockdown now.
Right. So here in England, we're in national lockdown. So. And we have things being suppressed, and I know it's different around the world. I know some of the guys watching in New Zealand and Australia, it's a bit more, they've got over it type thing, whatever. I'm oversimplifying it, by the way, so don't quote me on getting my C19 stats wrong. But they seem to be having more races in various countries than here, so I totally appreciate it. So I was just doing the awkward press question. You can't pin things on what we can do, but
I don't want to
keep running.
I've seen so many people's races get cancelled that I don't really want to book anything to train, and then halfway through a training program get told that it's been cancelled.
Yeah. Whereas the Dragon one, because of its locality. There's not going to be many of you, so social distancing, no problem.
Yeah, on your own.
You'll be on your own, yes,
Yeah.
out in the countryside. And for those who haven't seen my videos, when I'm out in Snowdonia and various parts of Wales, it is beautiful out there. I think, is it obviously seeing a dragon behind you? There is a bit of history in certain parts in Wales that wasn't Merlin from those who watch Arthur and the Round Table. Wasn't Merlin from Wales? Wasn't he a druid from Wales?
Ask me one on sport and I don't.
Sorry, yeah, we should have prepped before this, shouldn't we, Lee? The Dragon Quiz. I'll ask you one on sport. Obviously, your granddad being a world record holder.
Yeah.
800 meters. Who was the Olympic hurdles champion from Wales?
From Wales, Colin Jackson.
Colin Jackson, excellent, yes. And he commentates now for the BBC, doesn't he? Yeah.
He certainly does, yeah.
Great. Yeah. So well done. You scored 10 out of 10 for that question of sport there. But we'll come on to questions a bit later. But in terms of the ultras, you mentioned tempo runs and the VO2 max and that type of stuff. Does that kind of thing come into play more in ultras, or is it more just the long, steady, easy runs? Are you doing the other things just to keep you interested in it, or is it mainly focused on long, slow runs? So
I've only just started bringing back in lactic threshold runs into my routine, really. So you said earlier that I run sub 3. That was actually this year, and that was off the back of a 16-week MAF program, no speed training. Yeah. For those who don't know MAF, it's film maffetone heart rate. Yeah. MAF. Yeah. So it's 180 minus the age. So I didn't do any runs over 16 miles either. So all my long runs were 16 miles and all easy. But like we spoke about earlier, my long run would incorporate a marathon paced block. And at 2:57:25. So only recently I've been starting to bring back in the lactic threshold because I'm trying to bring my fitness up another level. Mm-hmm. Right. How did you feel? You mentioned the sub 3, 2:57. How did you feel? Because was that your first sub 3? Yeah. So I tried the year before, but stupidly I went to one of the lads' stag do's the night before. I don't drink. I do like a dance. Yeah. Okay. So you had a bit of a boogie the night before a marathon. Oh, wrong thing to do the night before. I run 3:01. 3:01. Oh man. You see, and you know, Lee, if you hadn't been dancing that night before, you would have gone sub 3. Oh yeah, 100%. When I thought I'd made it as well because I was on the 2:58 train, and when we come back, it was at Yeovil actually last June. When I come back into the stadium, I thought, I'm just about going to make it here, and then it made me loop the 400-meter loop. Ah, right. Okay. Where was this marathon? Which marathon was this? So that was Yeovil where I run 3:01, and then I run 2:57 in Gloucester then this January. In Gloucester, brilliant. And how did you feel when you finally went sub 3? Do you know, so when I run Yeovil, it was 35 kilometers where I started to feel the bite. So in my head, when it came to January, I was like, there was a mental part of my brain that was like, I'm not going to feel this pain at 35. I'm just going to power through. And Gloucester's a loop. So I knew like there was a slight uphill and then you come down a bit and then you go back up the bridge. So I knew when I got to 35k, if I felt good, that it was in the bag. Yeah. I got to 35k and I was on for 2:56. So in my head, even when I passed all the cameras and that, I was like, oh, yes, that's 3. Yeah. It was. So I knew like I was celebrating from about 37k that I'd got a sub 3. Wow. What a great, and it just goes to show, you know, mentally, once you've got over that mental barrier, the body just follows. Yeah. 100%. it was massively like when I got to Yeovil, 35k, the pain bit, and I slowed off, I eased off. But when it came to doing Gloucester, I knew no matter what pain, I had to keep the same pace.
Absolutely. And another thing which some people might sort of think that's quite curious, because at the end of the day, I need to stress everybody is different, and the way people do their runs and trainings and long runs is that we often see people, and this is from professional coaches, not just me, so I'm just quoting what professional coaches say, is that the common mistake beginners make is running at a fast pace on the long runs. That's number one. But number two, they seem to feel the need to run 26.2 miles as a long run to prove to themselves that they can do it, whereas your long runs is maximum 16. Tell us a little bit more how that came about. Why 16 miles? And as I say, I won't preempt it because I have read lots of things, I know why, but if you want to tell us how you came to 16 miles.
In all essence, as you've just said there, a lot of new people now, and I understand that people train differently, and what works for one won't work for another. Yeah. But it's always the pace that kills, not the distance. So you could run all day at your forever pace. The moment you step up your pace, you try going that distance, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So for me, I found once I got to 16 or anything after 16 miles, now don't get me wrong, there's going to be people out there that say, yeah, but if you trained 20 miles, you would have run sub 245. I wasn't going for sub 245.
Yeah.
Going for sub 3. Yeah. So I knew that I could achieve that from running just 16 miles as my long run. I didn't have the time in work to fit in 22-mile runs or anything like that. So whilst I understand that the longer you run, I would have run a quicker time. Yeah. I knew the 16 miles was perfect. That if I could hold that pace for 16 miles, then it was all a mental game from there on in.
Yeah. That's absolutely brilliant. That's again, you score 10 out of 10, Lee. I have read many, and it's been proven by professional coaches from around the world, where there are elite athletes who will only go up to 16 miles. So these guys run around 2:05 marathons. Yeah. So they'll only run 16 miles long run. And I think the world record holder for the 100-mile ultra, this lady said her longest long runs, now she races 100 miles, world record holder, was 20 miles. That's the longest long runs that she does. Now, admittedly, she does do these 20 miles probably 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes maybe back to back, an AM and a PM, but she does not do at one time more than 20 miles. So that's an interesting fact, and clearly you found what works for you, Lee, which is brilliant. And for those watching, listening, maybe you might want to try some. If people are stuck at a certain level, try different things. You mentioned Maffetone method, running at slow heart rate, doing lots of slow, easy runs. That can help. Keeping the long runs shorter, instead of going 21, 22, 23 miles, taper it down. So some really good tips there, Lee. And obviously, being so good on all the tips, I'm going to finish off. I mentioned, you may have seen on other interviews, the Fast and Furious franchise. So now Lee's not seen these questions. He doesn't know what we are. So we're going to do a little bit of a warm up here. Are you ready, Lee? Come on now, join in. Okay, you ready for this? As in the Fast and Furious. Basically, I'm going to give you 5 Fast and Furious questions, and there's no right or wrong answers. And as I mentioned, those who are watching, listening, if you can see things behind Lee, these are questions that I'd written before we'd started the conversation. So it's quite appropriate that you do have those things in the background there. And so we'll help with some of these questions, but there's no right or wrong answer. You're probably guessing what's it about now. Yes, yeah. And it's a bit of fun. So nothing too serious. As I say, there's no right or wrong answer, and just shout them out. And if you don't agree with any of the A or B, you can throw in a C if you want, Lee. So do you like that? Throw in a C if you want to, Lee. A bit of poetry. Right. Question number 1. Obviously, being an ultra runner, but you've done some fast speed work as well. What would you say is harder, a fast 5K or a 50K ultra?
Fast 5K.
Well done. Question number 2, cupcake or cheesecake?
Cupcake.
Cupcake. Excellent, excellent. And number 3, Nike or Adidas?
Oh, Nike.
You see, behind you, you have an Adidas and Nike shoe. So I thought that's been very well prepared there. So question number 4, sleeping under the stars or a 5-star hotel?
5-star hotel.
Right. And number 5, this might be something to help you with your ultras. Do you prefer a hot bath or a cold shower?
Oh, hot bath.
Oh, a hot bath. You're going to have a great time with your ultra, aren't you, with the cold showers? But anyway, anyway, Lee, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll have you back on sometime in the future. It's been an absolute privilege talking with you, Lee, and I'm sure the viewers listening have really enjoyed listening to your story and the great work that you're doing, helping with in your Facebook groups and so on, helping people with mental health and also running. You clearly love your running, which is fantastic. I love my running. You love your running. Thank you so much, Lee, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Donato. Thanks for having me on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. You take care, Lee.
You too.
Namaste.
Bye. Yeah.